Hello and welcome to the second part of our little thing here. We talked about big summer blockbusters. Now we're talking about movies that are too big to fail. You know,
or
thinking
the
about our
Landscape
Batgirls
Studios.
and our Flashes out there. And to join me in this conversation is Don Shanahan from Every Movie Has a Lesson in the Cinephile Hissy Fit, Will Johnson from the Cinephile Hissy Fit, Katie Glidewell from the Blonde in Front, Katie Glidewell from the Blonde in Front,
Still the same.
and Hayden Mears from IGN.
Hello.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
we've had kind of an interesting summer here. We had
Sure
The
have.
Flash come out, and you know, Warner Brothers hyped that movie up so much. They kept saying it's one of the best films you'll see. It's so great. It's so great.
Yeah.
It came out. It was a huge sloppy mess.
Yeah.
And it didn't really win over audiences. A lot of people didn't see them happening.
I didn't even see it.
Oh,
You're not
he
missing
didn't
it.
even see it.
You can spoil it. I know that Nicolas Cage shows up, so sorry.
Yep, there it is.
Which camera am I at?
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage.
That one.
I will say
Shows
that
up.
there was a much better multiverse movie that came out right before that, Across
That
the
doesn't help.
Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Both-
help, right?
Both
Like,
big outfits are doing
Yeah.
multiverse at the same time, and that has
I
not
saw
done,
this online.
honestly, either one of them any favors.
One of the things I really liked about Across the Spider-Verse, this was articulated really well on Twitter, is that it uses the multiverse to introduce new things rather than bring back old things.
Sure.
And it's like the only movie that's really doing that in the multiverse superhero space.
Yeah.
Because The Flash is just bringing, it's a lot of its marketing was predicated on Michael Keaton's coming back, right? Like
Yeah.
it's like bringing these people, it's nostalgia, cheap nostalgia. It's,
Yeah. We call those crutches. Got it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's almost a distraction from the fact that the story's not that good.
Yeah.
Distraction's a good word, too.
And the CGI is not that good either. And that's not that good is I'm being very nice by saying not that good. It's
Who?
horrific
Did
at
you
some
say
point.
The CGI?
The CGI is
The
very
CGI.
bad. That's
Yeah.
what she said.
I mean, what?
Well, I gotta
I said this, the babies in the film from the beginning, I need to apologize to Clint Eastwood because they make the babies in American Sniper look Oscar worthy. It's just
True.
bad.
The DCEU, though, is characterized by really bad CGI.
Yeah.
By and large.
Well, and it's really bad, and we were talking about this with like budget figures and whatnot, where once a studio has to like come out with excuses or create excuses to, soften the marketing or soften the bad buzz, like for like the director to come out, well, it's intentionally meant to look at
Yes.
a dreamlike state, like bullshit.
Well, it's
bad is bad, and
For
there's no
example,
excuse there.
Batman v Superman. You've got like a Minecraftian Doomsday, right? Like you've got this
Yeah.
CGI that's just very, very blocky
Mm-hmm.
and gooey. Like it looks like somebody made it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think is consistent across a lot of the DCEU movies.
Yeah.
One of the movies where it's more forgivable is because it's not as heavy as the Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman movie.
Sure.
Excellent.
But we catch Marvel slipping too. At least Marvel's self-aware to be like, you know what? We didn't put as much time in that. We're gonna correct that
Because
going
we worked
forward.
our visual
Yeah.
artists to death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's maybe part of this thing is like where the studios are getting lazy. Like, oh, they'll still see it. They'll still watch it. It's okay if it's not the best it could be. And maybe we're hoping, talking about Too Big to Fail, that maybe there's finally audience pushback. And Warner's is getting it for sure. Marvel's had some tips, but not
Yeah.
sink the
Yeah,
ship
nothing
dips,
that's
Yeah.
gonna
you know?
steer their ship away.
Well,
the studios are misreading our attendance as complacency.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's still FOMO. Like, hey, did you see The Flash? Like, even to bash it, you're still going to pay your $12 to see it.
Well,
I didn't see The Flash.
Nah. Well, I mean, to be honest, you didn't miss a lot. Like, it was okay. I gave it a good review overall, but I will say it's just all over the place.
I
that
like the
film,
director.
especially
Andy
towards-
Muschietti is great.
Yeah,
I
he
think
did
he's great.
the first It film
Is
was
he?
real good.
Yeah, he did the
The
first
It
two.
guy.
He did both
Yeah.
of them.
Is he really?
Jury's still out for me.
Yeah.
Because It 2
I'm
is
with my
excessive.
podcast
It 2,
partner
It
on this
1's
one.
good.
It too was not as good as one. I thought
So
there was
I
a
was
little
better
bit.
than one.
I see.
Yeah.
Two is better than one.
What?
It two
One-
is much better than one because
One was way better than two, I
Yeah.
thought.
No,
One is
two
much more tight.
was better than one because
No.
they actually adapted the book where the timelines
Oh,
are
we're
happening
going
at
there.
the same
So are
time.
you telling me
Sam
you're a number
Pebbles.
two man,
I
not a
mean-
number one man?
I am a number two man.
Nice.
Oh, dear.
See, but,
I mean,
Why am I
but-
smiling at this?
yeah, I don't
I don't know, but I mean,
Poop jokes are always funny.
This is really
But
stupid.
look,
Did
I
anyone
liked what he
really-
did with Mama. I thought he did a good job. I like what he did with It Chapter 1. Yes,
Yeah.
there's a significant part in the book that is omitted from that. It's also omitted from the first one, and technically it should be omitted and never
A
seen
lot of it should be
on
omitted from-
a
Yeah,
screen.
I've never read it,
Yeah.
but isn't a lot of it like kind of?
Oh no,
not
there's a
great?
scene where someone runs a train like on a 12-year-old for about 45 pages. It's really awful.
Damn.
what?
I'm
It's-
not kidding. I'm
Like
not
they-
kidding.
they
in the book.
ride
I'm
a
not
train
drunk.
on
I'm being
her?
serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How does
Yeah.
it go on for 45 pages?
Well,
That's
maybe
your problem with that?
yeah.
he's got a
Thank
problem
you,
with
thank
that.
you,
That
Hayden.
takes
Yeah,
too
it's like,
long.
and that's the issue is the amount
Uh-huh.
of pages.
I mean, 43 pages, but 45, you're
Yeah.
pushing.
Way to show restraint, Steven.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Woo!
I mean, I feel like Machete, like talking about the CGI and saying, "Oh, that's on purpose," and then bringing up the facts like, Ezra's the greatest, blah blah blah. It's like, okay, those are two strikes that I really can't.
It's going to
get
make you
behind on that.
forget about all his problems. He's
Sure.
that good. That's what he
Yeah.
said, right?
Come
Is that
on.
what he said?
Yeah.
He
Is
said
it they
he's
are
so
not good?
good.
Yeah.
Or, I'm sorry.
They.
Sorry.
I like
They
their
are not
energy.
good. Yeah.
Like, it's just, I like their energy. Ezra can fill a screen and give you something to look at. But material, it's just a
Yeah.
They're
rough
better.
movie.
I think
you know?
I think Ezra is better as supporting. I don't think that they can lead
Fair.
as well.
Yeah.
No.
Is Flashpoint DC's Dark Phoenix?
No.
Where they just cannot do it right?
No. That's Crisis on Infinite Earths, and they still can't do that
No,
right.
no,
either.
but what I mean is like they've tried
like
Dark
that. You know your
Phoenix
shit.
twice. They've tried Dark Phoenix twice, and they just haven't got it.
Yeah.
Is Flashpoint them trying to do Dark Phoenix and just failing completely?
I mean, Flashpoint should be as good as something like Dark Phoenix, and it sounds like the animated film nailed it, in 94 minutes, 5-6 years ago. But I mean, some of that is like we've got some comic book movies over the years and decades, I should say now, that they're trying to do some things that, despite all the special effects that we're talking about and all that, there's some things that are just unfilmable.
Yeah.
That you just can't recreate. Like even like Days of Future Past, like they really did the best they could in that X-Men movie of like, let's borrow the old from the Fassbender McAvoy stuff. Let's bring the 90s, I'm sorry, the aught stuff back, but I'm not gonna do the space and the star, and the
Cosmic
the
stuff.
Star Jammers and all
Yeah.
the stuff that comes with Dark Phoenix or Days of Future Past. But like to tell it in the guise of how we've made the movies, that was the best you're gonna get.
Well, that's why I liked First Class more than First Class. I think was the best of those.
Yeah,
Um,
but like,
I loved it.
but then one
Better
movie
than
later,
Apocalypse, better than Days of Future Past.
but like one movie
Anything-
later, like
My recent
Apocalypse
stool
is
sample is
unfilmable.
better than Apocalypse.
yeah,
So.
Yeah.
true.
But one movie later, Apocalypse is unfilmable. Like that doesn't. I mean, unless you have really good CGI, that doesn't work with practical costuming. Even though we would all love a little practical costuming in our lives, but just not there. Not in a 12-foot super mutant. It just doesn't work. All the Power Rangers villain laughs that are deserved for that movie.
So we have the movies that are too big to fail, where
Yeah.
the studios are like touting them up despite the things that have gone on. What about the studios that are actually bringing up the things that have gone on that I feel like they're trying to implode the films, like with
Yeah.
John Carter and The Lone Ranger? I mean,
Yeah.
yes, when we saw those films, we end up seeing the issues, but it's also that Disney gave us so many things that were going on with them
See.
behind the scenes,
Yeah.
letting the audience, and I'm like, no offense, but there are NDAs and things that are going on
Yeah.
that you guys are leaking this stuff on purpose to make,
Yeah.
Yeah.
to try and make this film fail.
Yeah.
So what's
See,
the point of
that's-
that?
Well,
See,
that's
that's
my problem with the.
Disney can do that because they have so many properties, so many movies, a saturated marketplace of their things where 2 or 3 of their hits make so much money that they can wash over and in terms of like bottom line and end of the ledger can pad 5, 6, 7, 8, 12 failures. Like for every John Carter in 2012, they still have a Pixar stunner that made twice its budget, where they can wash their hands of even some of their biggest bombs because they're not losing money. The closest you're going to get to a studio getting a haircut might be right now with Warner Brothers, where they've had a losing streak of box office bombs where at some point, and we're seeing the most minor versions of that of like tax write-offs, delaying how many movies they can promote at this one time because they don't have the promotion budget, bad studio politics in terms of like
taking stuff off
the
of
purchases
streaming
and
too,
things.
so they don't have to pay royalties. That's how bad
Yeah.
they're in right now.
Like that to go that far is saying something. And 10 years ago, we would have never seen Warner Brothers go there. 5 years ago, we would have never seen Warner Brothers go there. But we're watching something now that might be too big to fail comes to roost. But it will. I'll say it right now. It'll never happen with Disney. Never. They are legit
Well, yeah,
too
they're-
big to fail.
they're foolproof. They
Enough
have-
Marvel movies are so successful. The Pixar ones are successful, and they have so many irons and so many fires when it comes to real estate, the theme parks, the merchandising. Like they're not making
They
money.
are too big to fail.
They are. That's
Well,
the one.
And it's always the fact that no matter what happens with the U.S. box office in North America, once you go overseas, like,
That's
look,
gravy.
this may not work here with the marketing and
Yeah.
all that stuff, but we don't know what the marketing is like
Right.
overseas unless we see that. And, I mean, I know I haven't. All I
Yeah.
know is I just think about those films from 10 years ago that it's like, you know, this doesn't seem right. It seems like you guys are
Yeah.
trying to make this, like, make me not want to see that movie, and I don't understand,
Look at those-
honestly, the like what that's supposed to mean. Like telling me like, oh, this person
Is it
died,
their-
this person this. It's
Yeah.
like,
Is it their attempt at frank honesty instead of like
no.
what? Because Warner right now, the opposite narrative is
Yeah.
happening with Warner. We're like, no, that zero admission of failure, versus Disney going, well, excuse, factual excuse, factual excuse. But we can afford it. We're fine.
Yeah.
You know, everyone still has a life, career. No one's losing jobs and going on the homeless line anytime soon.
Yeah.
Like Andrew Stanton directing John Carter still made Finding Dory 5 years later and it was fine. Yeah. So, yeah. Versus Warner Brothers. But I like what you're saying, where the international box office that we Americans don't see in the news is doing it. And look no further than Box Office Mojo, where you can see the split percentage between domestic and foreign. And when you see those 30-70s, where 70 is international, that's when you know, hey, it didn't work here, but it's going to work someplace else, and
Yeah.
maybe China, maybe Japan, wherever. And
Well,
then, again, it's all gravy at that
I
point.
mean, I remember that being The Fifth Element. You guys remember The Fifth Element?
Oh,
yeah.
When that
Yeah.
came out, that was a box office flop here.
Yeah.
But it did so well worldwide that it was a massive hit.
Yeah.
Yep.
You could say it's a hit, even though here in the U.S. it was
Yeah.
kind of a domestic failure, really. But yeah, they had other markets.
Yeah.
So.
And some of that is like, it's still big, but you see how much bigger
Yep.
it's the Fast and Furious movies.
Yeah.
Where ever
Yeah.
since Fast 5 was the big jump to like bring them bigger. It made good money here, but it made sick money elsewhere.
Yep.
Where even the 70-30 split, the 30 is still really high,
Well,
which makes the 70 look great, and then the bottom line look huge.
That's what has been. A lot of people are making about the death of Marvel or whatever because they don't have the China money, but it does make a difference because something like Doctor Strange 2 would definitely be $1 billion if it had the China
Yeah,
money,
China.
and
Yeah.
it did not. And a lot of this stuff does affect it, but regardless. Yeah.
Well, and I think about when Titanic was being made and how, again, the whole thing about the budget and all this stuff. And
Yeah.
that was one of those things, like, I remember being, much younger than I am now, but thinking, like, wow, they're really focusing on how much money it's spent. That was spent to make this film, and not in a positive way. It was
Yeah.
always negative,
Well, they
pushing
did-
the deadline and
It was
pushing the deadline.
They did that with
like-
Waterworld too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
Waterworld.
then
Same
look
thing.
what happened to Waterworld. But it's like, I feel like James Cameron was like, no, F you.
I got this.
I'm taking this.
Yeah.
I'm fixing whatever you're trying to do. I'm going to make this mine. Maybe it's supposed to come this summer. I wanted to come out in the winter. And then what happened?
That
It
6 month
became
delay was perfect.
yeah,
for
it became
Yeah.
the first $1 billion movie, I think. You
Did.
know, and then
First $2 billion
Avatar,
movie, too.
yeah, Avatar, the second Avatar. I mean, he knows when to, put him out, and he also knows it's like, look, don't try and like bomb my movie before it comes out. It's like, I know what I'm doing. If something's gonna happen, that's gonna happen. But so
I love
far
that
it
you brought
hasn't.
I love that you brought up Avatar because all the Twitter snark in the world last October, November was like, this movie's gonna bomb. Who's this movie for? Motherfucker still raked $2 billion plus. Like,
Dude.
Yeah.
people still showed up, and people shut the fuck up afterwards. Like, nope, he delivered. I mean, even if we were soft in the movie, you still paid your $12 to see it.
Right. Well, there's the 3D sales that boosted a little bit, but still, I know what you mean.
You don't hit $2 billion just because
Yeah.
3D sales pop you another 10
Absolutely,
or 12%.
absolutely.
And I mean, I remember saying this in a review regarding Avatar, the second one. There's no one that loves James Cameron more than James Cameron. The
Yep.
fact
True.
that there are at least 4 instances in that film that reference his other films, I was like, you know what, dude? Good for you.
Yeah.
If
He's
someone's
super
going
into himself.
yeah, if someone's gonna do a, you know what? I'm just gonna do a little reference, maybe a little thing called Titanic, maybe a little thing called Aliens. Maybe it's
Right.
like, oh, are those my movies? Oh, I guess they are.
Maybe a
Excuse
little
me.
thing
Excuse
called
me.
Piranha
Made other
2.
movies
Yeah.
thing really
The
necessary,
birthing.
The what?
For Cameron, is the by the way I've made other movies thing kind of like, is that necessary though? Like, it's not. We all
Yeah,
know who he is.
because, like,
If you
oh, yeah.
made them, I'd say hell
Well,
yeah.
no, compare that to this is like I'll play the studio card here. Earning potential.
Yeah.
James Cameron, thanks to his smash hits, even despite his hubris, that man
There's a
has
lot of
more
it.
earning potential than Martin Scorsese.
Oh yeah.
Because Martin Scorsese brings his little poor man hat to the table and says, "Apple, please give me $200 million for my filet mignon buffet of old people and bullshit."
Right.
Where and then like, but a studio chasing prestige like Netflix or Apple with Killers of the Flower Moon and The Irishman before it, someone's still unfortunately dumb enough to give Scorsese that money, not seeing they're never going to see that money back. But maybe they'll give him a little Oscars, a little pub, a little this, a little that, and Netflix took a haircut and a fucking half on The Irishman because it made what, $8 million at the box office.
Yeah, it made
If
barely
that.
anything.
If that, and I mean, maybe you get a Netflix bump of subscribers, but for how long? There's no home video market to pad that stat either,
And,
it
it
costs,
also wasn't that good.
but it cost $155 million before marketing for Netflix, and I don't know how a studio, Netflix is brazen, they'll do it, but any other studio would be like, no, Marty, there's a reason why you have to shop that thing all over town,
Well,
because earning potential says we're not going to see that money back.
I
An Oscar
mean-
doesn't make that much money.
Yeah.
Yeah, no
If-
offense, but prestige doesn't pay the bills,
No.
and
Yeah.
that's a sad fact.
If-
but
if-
also, I didn't
If
necessarily
the
like the
movie is not
Irishman.
going to make enough money so that profit margins are not even part of the conversation, it's not, you know.
I mean, what studios have to be comfortable doing that, and watching Marty post Irishman.
What do you mean, and taking-
have
and
to
taking
go around
risks?
town and not find a suitor until Apple showed up, and to get Killers of the Flower Moon. So like,
and
that
that's
should
him
tell you something.
with the Scorsese name, right? Like, that's him
Yeah,
even with who he
cachet.
is. Yeah.
Like, historical Mount Rushmore cachet, and he can't get a budget.
Yeah.
Where I'm waiting for somebody to go, Marty, fucking tone it down. Like, how about 85?
But he also,
how about
by the
75?
same token, he doesn't.
Not buck
he's
55.
He's Martin fucking Scorsese. He doesn't really have to tone it down.
Yes, he does, or his little movies don't get made. Because like, if someone doesn't pick up The Irishman, it does. And unfortunately, guys, it doesn't get made.
That's happened
If
to-
someone doesn't pick up Killers of the Flower Moon, it gets delayed all these years until it gets made.
He's like kind of a more.
Look at Devil in the White City. We're still waiting on it because
He's
no
like
one's
an
going to
extreme
pay that
version
bill.
of Francis Ford Coppola. No one's been funding his films for 20 years.
At some
so-
point, you fade.
Isn't he
And
self-funding Francis Ford Coppola?
Right, but
he's
that's what I'm
gotta
saying.
find
Yeah,
extra
Megalopolis.
No, I'm just making sure I know.
Yeah, but I'm
He's
saying
doing
he could
Megalopolis.
make a film with a studio for $60 million,
I wish.
and
You better
instead
move-
of having to self-fund his $200 million, whatever the fuck he's
But even
doing.
that guy's gonna, even himself, he's not Tom Cruise. He's gonna run out of money.
Yep.
Tom Cruise has been self-funding his Mission Impossible movies since the beginning. Cruise Wagner started with Mission Impossible.
Yep.
So he
Cruise wipes his ass with gold.
yeah,
So,
but like
yeah.
now that
Yeah.
that guy's mint, he can get his little foreign investors and his own money, and he's fine. No haircut needed on that. Yeah. It's weird, but it's earning potential.
Yeah.
Tom Cruise is becoming an even more bankable. Like, he's still such a
But-
like.
That's
But
because
it
Tom
took
Cruise is a smart
little
guy
bit-
and knows
it
what
took
he's
gradual
doing.
Mission Impossible improvement, and then it took Top Gun smoking.
Oh yeah.
Because 5 years ago,
Yeah, people forget.
Rock of Ages, Tom Cruise isn't
Yeah.
getting a paycheck.
People seem to forget, like, people are talking about, like, Maverick saved movies from the IP culture. It's like, that's a sequel to a
It's
very
still-
Yeah, it's
popular
still
IP.
IP.
So, like,
With a big movie star.
yeah.
Yeah,
no.
that's super IP. It
Yeah.
reeks
That's
of IP.
not. Well, somebody said it. What was the last the last original movie to make a top 10 in in end of the year box office was, I think it was Nope. Was the last movie that was not an IP or sequel to make it in the year-end top 10 grosses.
Jordan
and it took
Peele,
an Oscar
baby.
push
in a year to get there. But that's the last one. Everything else is Pixar. Pixar maybe, but yeah.
Has Pixar hasn't been doing great at the box office.
I have not.
Yeah,
Lightyear was a failure.
but they're padded. Like Disney still fronts the paycheck. They have mommy's money. They're still fine. What were you guys thinking, Mike?
Oh, God, I forgot.
Ah, my bad. Sorry. But
Too big to fail.
yeah. Is there? Like I said, I know I think Warner Brothers were close. We're watching a case study in maybe. I don't think it'll ever. Because see, that's the other thing. Warner Brothers is still owned by a very large company that's making money hand over fist, where they're going to be fine. It's just who's willing to put money into the film division to see it through. Other than that, like it still won't. It'll sink and it'll flounder, but it won't fail. Even no one will let Warner Brothers fail, or Disney. The next suitor will come in and buy the company.
Yeah.
Or like,
if
or Disney will buy
buys
Fox.
Warner Brothers,
You know?
that would be like.
No, but like Comcast will buy
That
them,
would be the
or
end.
like it won't be.
Sorry.
Disney won't buy them.
No.
Who
But
owns WB? It's AT&T, right?
It's Discovery. I think the parent company is still AT&T. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
But that's where we're at here. Like, that's the other line of like why Too Big to Fail is here and now is because in the last 25 years, big tech has put their money into the movie business. Because when Disney was just Disney and Warner's was just Warner's and Paramount was just Paramount before it was Viacom, before Sony bought Columbia and TriStar, when studios were just studios, Too Big to Fail was possible. Not with big corporate backing anymore. It won't happen. It'll flounder, but it won't fail. Because even Sony's like clinging to James Bond and Spider-Man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's all that they really have.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, I mean,
And Sony
they are so connected to Spider-Man that they'll release movies without him, but reference him, and it's enough
Just
to make them
hold
money.
hold the rights.
Yep, exactly.
Or and anything that didn't get gobbled up by a big tech company, MGM, it still goes. Now their catalogs go to the highest bidder. It's like Amazon swoops in and saves MGM. Or we start to see the mergers, like Fox gets saved by Disney.
Yep.
Fox saves Lucasfilm. Fox
When
saves
now-
Marvel.
and now
I'm
you
sorry,
see-
Disney saves Lucasfilm. Disney saves Marvel.
I gotta tell you, just speaking for myself here, seeing The Simpsons on Disney Plus was so trippy.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Did you
Imagine
see it with
Alien
the
and
correct
Predator,
aspect
but
ratio?
we're not there yet.
Huh?
Did you see it with the correct aspect ratio?
No, I know that they cut out visual gags, didn't they?
Yeah, they did, but they actually put back in the 4:3 ratio.
Oh,
for
that's
people-
good.
Yeah.
I haven't done a Simpsons watch in a long time.
Yeah.
I haven't seen them since when were they last good? Like the 10th season was like their last
95.
good season. And then for like 20 years
I'm
after
more of an
that.
American Dad guy in terms of adult.
95,
Uh,
96, 94 were the prime seasons.
Yeah.
Huh?
Here's
When Simpsons
Yeah.
was really, really good. 94, 95, 96.
So yeah, I was a child.
Long
Yeah.
before you were born.
Yeah. When Matt
born in
Groening was
91.
the writer.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't trust anyone born in the 90s.
here's the next thing with Too Big to Fail.
Yeah.
Is the other chance you had to see it maybe happen was COVID, where if you take a year or two where the receipts stop coming in, who can hang, who can still put stuff out, who can still absorb the losses, and everyone just kind of hunkered down, puckered up, did some streaming stuff, cut their nose to spite their face to like, because that's where Pixar's at. Like everyone's like, well, I'll just wait for Disney Plus instead of go see a Pixar movie like as a summer event, where the lifeboat became the comfort boat for everybody else. Like we're gonna put some things in streaming because we need to put some content out there to remind people we're still here and we're gonna get you subscriber money. But now like the home video market is so fast, the turnaround time for digital. What happened during COVID was that one thread of like, can a studio fail? And they still made it. So, because digital is a lifeboat. So like that didn't sink anybody either. So what's it going to take now is like economic collapse. Because 9/11 didn't sink it either.
Well, yeah, I mean,
We've had 2 recessions in 20 years. That didn't sink it either.
people talk about how, like, oh, Marvel's not hitting as much as it has, but it's still making
Still
$800 million.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
sure, they're not making 1.8 or 2.1 billion, but like, they're still the force to reckon with in the marketplace.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, no one's going to be trying to open up. Maybe with the Marvels, but no one's going to try to open up a film against that because it's still Marvel.
No.
It's still
Yeah.
Disney. It's the reports of its death are greatly exaggerated.
Ain't
Well,
gonna happen.
Disney's foolproof. They have so much backup.
That's
you
the
know,
thing.
That they
So
have.
much.
They have Pixar. They have Disney Animation. They
All
have
the
Disney
non-film
World. They
stuff.
have Disneyland.
Yeah.
Just what they
Wars.
put in the parks alone.
They're like the number. What they say? They're like the number 4 real estate holder in the state of Florida.
Yep.
Yeah.
They have like condos and
Like
hotels.
their
and
gross
and then all
domestic,
their
their
stuff.
gross domestic product is like bigger than like most
Yeah.
countries.
So
Yeah.
if you take a $200 million loss on Ant-Man, whatever, they
Nothing.
can absorb it. Like,
Chump change.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's nothing.
We're in billionaire territory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
True.
that's why Disney will always be ahead. What's going to be interesting is keeping our eye out on Warner Brothers and see what they do. You have to every,
This is the one.
And
This is the
I
test.
think they're going to start from scratch after. What are they done with? They have another Aquaman coming out. They have Blue
Beetle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they-
Barbie.
They just cast
Warner
their new
Brothers?
Superman.
They
Yeah.
just cast Superman and Lois Lane.
Isn't Warner
Um,
Brothers' next big thing Barbie?
Barbie. Yeah.
Good
Yeah,
And
and I
it'll
mean-
smoke
So
Oppenheimer.
good.
Barbie
so
could
good.
do great. There's going to be an unusual amount of men seeing Barbie.
It'll beat Oppenheimer easily.
Oh, Oppenheimer, I think is going to bomb. I
Well,
don't.
even just for the logistics of it, it's a 3-hour movie, less times,
R-rated.
R-rated.
Yeah.
You know,
If Barbie did what Mario in the Lego Movie did, and somehow we all haven't seen it yet, but if it shined itself up to be PG instead of PG-13, you'd be racing Mario for the top movie of the
Yeah.
year.
plus they're advertising it correctly by
Very
saying,
correctly.
if you love Barbie, you'll love this movie. If you hate Barbie, you'll love this movie. It's
They're
perfect.
super sly.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
really, and honestly, Greta Gerwig has the prestige behind her, right?
That's the
Yeah.
crazy thing. It's like now
Like
you have
she-
both. Like cinephiles will see it, casual fans will
Yeah.
see it. How
'Cause
often do
she-
we get to say that about some things?
her Little Women. That was one of my favorite movies of 2019.
You
Like,
mean
I-
Lady
very good.
Bird?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's
Bird.
so good.
Those
Yeah.
are 2 number 1s there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Frances Ha, I mean, writing, I mean,
She's a legend.
she's fantastic. And
And she's consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
It may be more important that she's consistent rather than fantastic. Yeah.
is that a tea leaf to the idea of Too Big to Fail? Is that you have legit auteurs who are willing to make a little big studio money? Like Barry Jenkins is going to make a Lion King prequel. Greta Gerwig made a Barbie movie.
Well, Taika
Um,
made Marvel movies.
yeah,
I mean,
Ava
everybody.
DuVernay
Chloe
made
Zhao
Wrinkle in
made a
Time.
Marvel movie.
So like,
Yeah.
I
It
feel
wasn't that
I'm
good,
not
but
trying
yeah.
to say like
How dare you.
now how much to me is like it's good for everyone's business where I mean I don't feel like anyone's putting a gun barrel to Chloe Zhao's head, Greta Gerwig's head, and all that to make these movies. Like if it pads their resume and they still have fun doing it. let
Well,
them
yeah.
have fun.
If I've learned anything, and I recently have been getting into the John Waters filmography.
yeah.
And this is a guy who, like Kevin Smith, used to make movies for like $20,000.
Yeah.
On his handheld camera, and he still made Hollywood movies, and no one was like, he made a PG Hairspray movie, and no one was like, how dare you sell out? Like,
Yeah.
Francis Ford Coppola had 3 massive bombs in a row before a studio said, make The Godfather, and he was like, okay. And like,
Does- I'll
it's-
sound old school. Does Michael Curtiz sell out making Robin Hood versus Mildred Pierce? No. Yeah, it all works. It's all the ecosystem.
it's movies, man. We got to stop taking it so like
Yeah. Don't separate it
regimental
for-
and
Totally.
silly.
Yeah.
Well, it's
yeah.
art. I mean, as long as you make it, like that's the point. Like I remember, look,
Make it good.
Benson and Moorhead doing their independent films, and then they went on to do what 4 or 5 episodes of the Disney show with Oscar
They did
Isaac.
Moon Knight. They did
Yeah,
Moon Knight
Moon
as
Knight,
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the indie kids like Daniel Destin Cretton making Shang-Chi after short-term 12
Yeah,
back in the
Yeah.
day.
The guys that did, I don't know if they're husband and wife team that did, what's it called? The Ryan Gosling movie where he's half Nelson. They did
Yeah.
Captain Marvel. I mean,
Yeah.
who cares?
That's like the
I-
Sunshine team, isn't it, as well?
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, it all counts. The
Yeah.
divisiveness that you're talking about.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
doesn't need to be done.
I never have
Yeah.
bought that whole
No.
garbage
Don't make fun
about.
of Scorsese making Hugo. No one's going to do it because He made a children's book. Todd Haynes made a children's book too. He did Wonderstruck. Like everybody does it.
That's what I'm saying.
Let
There
it
was a
have fun.
big thing about Rob Zombie making the Munsters. It's like PG, and like I said, you go. John Waters made a PG movie. People have made PG movies. Like it's not like a big deal. Like everyone needs to chill out.
I honestly wonder if the Munsters would have fared better if Rob Zombie's name wasn't on it. Like
That's
if
fair.
they have just
Well,
gone
there's-
into it
Well,
just
maybe if he didn't
without
make it
that,
look like it was a
That's a
Six
good
Flags
point.
Yeah.
advertisement.
If
Think
it's-
about some of the
it's-
most successful Stephen King adaptations do not have Stephen King's name on it.
Yeah.
Like
True.
Shawshank Redemption, Stand By Me. They went away from putting Stephen King's name on it to make it more successful. And that there is validity to what you're saying. for sure.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But
Well-
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I'm looking forward to seeing Oppenheimer.
Oh yeah.
Tenet was in my top 10. I remember going back in the theater after COVID, not after COVID, like
During
when we were
COVID.
able to
Yeah.
go into COVID and
Yeah.
watching that.
You're kinder than me.
I mean, I
well, you
know I
guys
couldn't
know me,
understand it.
I'm-
I wish I had Cliff Notes for it because it's like that was, I consider myself a very intelligent woman and that made me feel dumb and yet I was all on board
Yeah.
because I'm in a theater.
what? That's-
I don't understand half the shit that's,
on
going
the
on
filmmaker.
and I'm
That's on the
okay.
filmmaker, though.
It is.
Because you shouldn't have to be a fucking Rhodes Scholar to understand a movie that someone's putting out there. Like, you
And
need to be able to
I
appreciate
fear
it.
that about Oppenheimer. Big
Well-
stars
Yeah.
aside, that's
Well,
a heavy
you guys,
thing to get into.
That-
you guys know me. I hate Christopher Nolan films, and I'm looking forward to Oppenheimer. So
You hate Christopher
Yeah.
Nolan
Yeah.
films? Okay. Well,
I don't like Christopher Nolan films. I don't like Wes Anderson films, and I kind of enjoyed
I am-
Asteroid City. So I mean, that's the other thing is people have to stop getting tribal about.
Good word
Like
for
you
it.
can't be like I said, like it's okay to criticize Martin Scorsese for making a couple bad movies. It happens.
will.
Francis Ford Coppola's made bad movies. Everybody's made bad movies. Like Spielberg, who I love, has
No
made
one's
bad
perfect.
movies. Like we have to stop getting tribal and be like. So that's what I'm saying is I don't like Christopher Nolan
Yeah.
movies, but I'm gonna go see Oppenheimer because I'm interested in the material and I'm not gonna be like, well, it's Christopher Nolan. Forget it. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
you
Like
gotta.
if Barbie bombs, Greta Gerwig should not be sung. She's
No.
Greta Gerwig.
I
It's
mean,
fine.
she's amazing,
Yeah.
and I look forward to seeing the next thing that she
too.
does.
Yep. The problem is that because of that tribalism, we don't live in an era anymore. There's very few of them. Maybe Jordan Peele is one of the old school examples of someone who has mainstream appeal and artistic
Yeah.
capabilities that appeals to everyone like a Spielberg did or a Scorsese did. Now everything is very niche, very, tribal, where it's like, well, you have to have, if Marvel is successful, it has to be a different thing than whatever Scorsese's doing. It's like, no, like
Yeah.
it's all the same
Yeah.
thing. You
I
gotta
can't-
just,
I can't wait to see Barbie's reaction because
Yep.
this is a big cineasty test.
Yeah.
You have Greta Gerwig, and then Lion King will be the next one because that's Barry Jenkins.
Yep.
So like, how justify your hatred, fancy pants cinephile people versus everyone else who's like, yeah, I'll watch
well,
it.
that's what happened with Eternals. I remember talking to people. They're like, well, it's not cinema except for this one. I'm like, why? Because
because Chloe
a
Zhao.
certain
Stop.
director.
Yeah.
Come on, stop it.
I'm
Like,
with
don't
you.
be ridiculous.
I'm with you.
I do think it's very interesting though that they did purposely pit Barbie and Oppenheimer against each other because I know we talked
Yeah,
earlier
yeah.
in it about or I think even on this show that I mean this weekend because we're filming this on June 29th. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny comes out tomorrow when nothing else is coming out. They've got a free reign on a 5-day holiday weekend. And
That's big. That's Disney muscle.
I mean, that's huge. And the fact that then, in 3 weeks, you've got two of the most anticipated films of the year coming out on the same day.
yeah.
Not
I thought
just
one would blink.
like within a week, but on the same day. It's
Yeah.
a big summer.
And in between is Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Like what
Yeah.
a 3-week run we've got coming up here.
You've got
Yeah.
a comedy next weekend that I love, one of my favorites of the year. But
All right.
yes.
Yes, ma'am.
But yeah, I just think it's very, I don't know, it's very cannibalistic, like them trying to eat each other to see who's good. It's like, oh, well, we're gonna win, or we're gonna win. It's like,
Well,
can
they're
we
also
all just get along? Like,
there's
come on,
a number
let's
of layers
like,
to that because there's an IMAX battle too between Mission
Cruise?
Impossible and Oppenheimer,
Yeah.
where they're
That's
just
right.
like, like
That's-
hey,
Uh-huh.
we want to have more screens than you do, and it's like,
Good
I
luck.
don't know.
Yeah. I'll present one more angle of Too Big to
Yeah.
Fail.
Movies suck, guys.
Yeah. Nobody likes movies.
I'll present
Movies are
one more.
stupid.
Play video games.
I'll present one more angle for the dais. If there's one more, I know Warner Brothers is this case of we've seen the losses and the lost money and whatnot. Normally, you get there because of flippant spending and out of control budgets and whatnot. I feel like the next place to watch for like a trend to happen or more of this to be possible or not possible is Netflix. Like at some point, they spend so much money for. Now, don't get me wrong, to have a regular $18 a month bump from 90 million people in the world, they're probably doing fine. But at what point do they run out of gas, run out of money, or implode?
Well-
I don't think it's a fast ticking time bomb or a
Well-
short hot fuse, but at
I
some
think it
point,
is.
At some point, what's the red line for their subscriber
Well-
level to drop before it can't justify all the money they spend making movies?
Katie mentioned something interesting about how like the budgets used to be this story.
Yeah.
And that is kind of becoming a thing too. I think there is a reckoning coming where you have something like an Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania where like I liked it, but I know a lot of people didn't.
That's
Where
fine.
they were just kind of like, hey, we'll throw 400 million at it and that's fine. Like, and it's starting to have an effect. Like I was watching, there was this guy named Dan Murrell who does charts. He's on YouTube. And he was looking at Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and like in terms of like net what they're bringing in.
Yeah.
You know, it's making $880 million. It's only going to bring in like 17 million. They're going to start, there is a reckoning coming. They're going to start slashing these budgets and just making movies again. You know, it's not about throwing everything in it because I think people are reacting to it. They, you know, even the Marvel show, look at Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I'm like, yeah, that's clearly green screen. There's no realism to it. We got to get back a little bit. It's okay to throw money at it, but you got to get back a little bit to
Yeah.
trying hard to make it look like you're trying, like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 did. You know, where it's like, but there, I think
can't
there's a
wait.
reckoning coming. I mean,
I can't wait for you to see Indy 5 tomorrow.
Well, what did Indy 5? You said it cost almost 300 million, right?
295 million before marketing,
Yeah, I mean,
and it'll be fine. But at the
yeah,
same
but
time,
what did Raiders cost with inflation? I mean,
60.
yeah, it's-
60 then, probably 150 now, right?
And those older movies look better too without. I mean, I
They
hate
do.
to be the guy who always says
You'll see this
CGI
tomorrow,
bad,
practical
CGI.
effects.
No,
But-
they do. I've been rewatching all the Indiana Jones. They look fucking phenomenal.
that's
yeah,
why-
they look great
that's why I
up
wonder
until
with-
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull when they started using the computer, and you'll
Yeah.
see some of that here, especially towards the third act.
Yes,
in
sir.
Dial of Destiny, where it just looks like
The
CGI.
eels.
You know, why they couldn't have used models? They could have used models instead.
Yeah.
But I mean, what do all four of those Indiana Jones movies have in common that this new one doesn't? Steven Spielberg directing.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's very
He's-
obvious.
Well, and even he's fallen victim to it because
Ready
to me,
Player
the
One.
worst film he ever made is Ready Player One.
Oh
So
my God,
Yeah.
I love that movie.
I
But
know.
it's over reliance on
I don't
digital
judge
shows.
you
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that. It's fine.
Yeah,
I
if
trust
you like it, that's
I
I do
love
not
it.
like. I do not like it
judges-
either.
I
I don't like.
love
I
it.
don't like.
Good,
Ready Player
Hayden.
One.
And
Good.
that's fine. That's fine that you guys
Good.
are wrong. But you know,
I
I
just
love it.
Don't appreciate garbage, Katie.
Eat it up.
But
It's amazing.
yeah, I hope there's.
Is it
Um,
amazing? I mean, is it okay or is it amazing?
No, it's amazing.
It's amazing.
Each time I watch that film, there's a little teeny tiny bit of nostalgia that comes out. The button
Is it
that
like a
comes
mystery?
away.
Yep.
Does it blow
Yeah,
your mind
I mean,
every
it
time?
blow. It did
it's an
when I
avalanche of
watched
fun
it.
things.
I
Yeah.
watched it that opening weekend on Easter and seeing all the Easter eggs.
Yep.
I loved
Wow.
The
it.
hype behind that movie pissed me off because like, this isn't.
Well, it doesn't
deserve-
hurt that the book sucks also.
Well,
See,
that's what I was about to
So-
say. Like, isn't
And
the
see,
book
that's
not
the
that
thing.
great? And
I
this is
can't
all just a
read,
nostalgia
so
grab?
that's why I don't know what the book's like.
Hooked on
But
Phonics
the
is
movie was
sponsored.
amazing.
Well, Hooked on Phonics sponsored this video.
Right.
Literacy is good,
Yeah.
everybody.
Whereas, what's it? Rogaine has not sponsored us, obviously.
Sponsored me though.
Are we good? Are you
Yeah.
You want to wrap this up, Michael
Yeah, let's
Crowley?
wrap this up.
Yeah,
So,
too
any
big-
closing
I'm
thoughts
hungry
on
and I'm
these?
drunk. So.
Yeah, I'm starving right now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
my
I
close.
could eat.
I'll be that guy. Keep an eye on Netflix. Keep an eye on Warner Brothers. You got test cases of either excess or losses, and maybe you'll see the mantra come into play. Too big to fail. Like because don't look at Disney. Disney's going nowhere. But yeah, watch what Warner Brothers is doing, and if Netflix ever plummets to get to that level too, where somebody's like, well, let's just buy Netflix. I'm waiting for some, because they're their own giant. But watch Amazon buy them, or some of that stuff. So keep an eye on that. There's as a casual movie fan, you can still watch a few headlines, open up a few articles, and learn some stuff. So I recommend that.
And keep going to the movies, because that's where all this is.
Yeah.
I mean, experience this. Have that be that captive audience.
Yeah.
Like it's like nothing else. Even if there's things with home and what the benefits are,
Yeah.
but it's being that captive audience and having I'm not a religious person, but as I always say, the theater is my church. So.
Well, I mean, in the business side, that's the only way to enact any change is to show your approval or disapproval with your wallets. You're the consumers. Without you, they're nothing. So it's on us collectively.
Yeah. Well,
This is sponsored by Azus.
Azus. Yeah. Well, yep.
I don't know why I have that.
It's mine.
We just have to keep
Oh,
our eyes out
mine.
on Warner Brothers to
Mine.
really see.
That's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the one where we're gonna see what fallout can hurt a studio and what a studio can do to bounce back from it.
Yeah.
It seems like they've been trying to bounce back ever since Justice League, and it's been a rocky road.
yeah.
for
You
It's
them.
gonna
mean
take
the
some
Heavenly
time.
Father, Zack Snyder? He can do no wrong.
Yeah.
It's
How
gonna
can
take
he
some
do
time,
any
though.
wrong at all?
And it's
He's
not just
amazing.
And it's not just
He is
James
God.
Gunn and Disney. That studio has more to fix than just I'm sorry, DC. That studio has more to fix than just DC.
Release the
Yeah.
Snyder cut.
I want to see the
Well, they
Schumacher
did.
cut.
Release the Air cut. Release the Schumacher cut.
The
Why is
Snyderverse.
DC always got these cut problems?
Studio medley.
No one's like, release the Zal cut of Eternals. It's like, well, because whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mike, thanks for having us, man.
Guys,
Yes, thank you
so
for having
much
us.
for
Bye.
having. Guys, so let me thank everyone. Thank you, Hayden Mears from IGN, Don Shanahan from Every Movie Has a Lesson, and the Cinephile Hissy Fit, which you can see on these T-shirts right here. Will Johnson from the Cinephile Hissy Fit, and Katie Glidewell from the Blonde in Front. I'm Mike Crawley from You'll
It's
Probably
ironic.
Agree.
She sits in the back.
Yes, that's what we do here. We do irony. I'm Mike Crawley from You'll Probably Agree. If you like what you saw, remember to check out me at YPA Reviews. That is my social media handle on Twitter, on Instagram, and also, and on TikTok. So guys, please check out YPA Reviews. You'll Probably Agree. Cinephile Hissy Fit.
Offer void in Utah.
Yeah. And of course, go Kansas. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.
Yay, Kansas!
No. Why go